Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic known classic. This is episode number 3096 and Doubleshot number 2990. These two trades both released within the same time period. This issue was released in 2000, I think, 07. It was released pretty much the same year. First one we have is She-Hulk Volume 6. Here today. This collects She-Hulk Volume 2 issues 28 to 30, along with the Cosmic Collision one-shot. Why in the world they decided to do 3 issues in a one-shot, I have no idea. I think Marvel was probably just stretching out this era as much as they can. This is the second to the collect issues period they able to run for the book, and it's the third to last one. There's actually 2 more after this. Yes, believe it or not, we have 2 left. So, the first couple issues involve She-Hulk going to jail for being a guy who not much evidence has also been defending him due to the fact that, well, the cops basically had a basically improper search. They had a search without cause, which something basically is illegal. So, even if all this stuff in the guy's house, General Walter points out to the judge, yeah, this is inadmissible. This is basically just violating his rights of privacy. They did not receive a warrant for. There's not much of a warrant per se, but the judge actually agrees with Jen Walters, basically throwing all the evidence out, and with the fact that there's evidence, case dismissed, and the judge I'm going to wash my hands. And of course, you also have this guy who's kind of like a take on Kraven the Hunter, this more common version of him, and. Yeah. So, the Cosmic Collection one-shot is more thing involving Jet Dazia, where it just it's like a cartoon story. Also, issue 30, it's shown the issue opens up where she spends the night with Hercules. I'm like, damn. Hercules, you lucky bastard, get this on your bed. Yeah. I'm sure Peter David really enjoyed writing Hercules. As far as I can tell, I think this is the first time he's ever written Hercules, as far as I can tell, because I think before and after this, I don't think he's ever written Hercules before. Yeah, but great set of issues. And we only have about, I think, like 8 more to go for this whole run. And then we're done with She-Hulk Volume 2. Now, why Peter David chose with She-Hulk is a complete mystery, but it's a great book overall. Same cannot be said when it comes to Civil War Frontline Book 2, which contains issues 7 to 13 of this limited series that have more issues than the main series was tied into. Written by Paul Jenkins. Now, we have approximately about 4 different stories here. We have Roman Beast doing Embodied. This is focused on Ben Urich, and the whole thing with this one is leading to the formation of Frontline, which will continue on after this one. The Accused, which is art by Steve Lerber. This second half of the storyline is leading into Robbie Brown, who's developing in these issues a pain addiction. He loves getting hurt. So he makes a suit that makes him into pellets, where the suit has got spikes on the inside to poke him every time to remind him the fact that he was indirectly responsible for the death of 600 people. And he has to go through this every single frickin' day. Yeah. Oh, and the war correspondence thing? Well, I think one of these stories, there's one called Super Soldier 2, I believe. There's one story in these ones, I think it's from the final issue. This is just after the events of Civil War had wrapped up. A very controversial interview that was actually brought up again during Second Empire. Sally Field decided to interview Captain America after he surrendered. This, of course, where he got killed in Captain America 25. Where Sally Field thought he was out of touch with the current modern day because he didn't watch NASCAR and he didn't have MySpace. Later on, they retconned this. They changed dialogue to he didn't have Twitter. Yeah, it's not aged very well, the scene. Now, the whole thing with Ride About Independence, this would continue over in the pages of Thunderbolts very briefly. He also gets a miniseries, Prince of Lenz, where he gets his own updated suit afterwards because Sue was getting more to him. He made some guest appearances, Pence, like in Nova. Eventually, after Siege, he stopped being Siege, went back being Speedball again. He apparently grew his hair back in this period of time. Yes. And became a teacher at the Avengers Academy, where he developed a cutting addiction. So of the pain thing, he takes his pen and something and cuts himself. Now, the only person in our comic universe who's known for doing this is X-23. And this lasted for a little while, and Justice has been trying to help him get rid of it. Eventually, of course, he would leave the Avengers Academy, team up with Sam Alexander Nova to form the New Warriors, which got a series and got X after 1 year due to the fact that I kind of felt as though like you have New Warriors and you don't have Night Thrasher on the roster until like the last issue. Why? I never understood why the Chris Yost New Warriors book had the end of 12 issues. The guy still popped up. He was still very active. I don't know how Steve Ditko himself felt about this change when it came to Speedball becoming Penance. I'm sure he probably was upset, or probably just did not give a damn. Now, the whole thing with the Embodied, this would later lead to the formation of a separate newspaper known as Frontline, which was formed by Ben Urich, and also he was joined by Robbie Robertson, who left the DB due to the guy who took over the Daily Bugle after, I think it was a guy named Daniel Bennett, I believe his name was. He took over Daily Bugle and turned into a gossip rag, which basically killed the paper. Yes, it killed the paper. Eventually, when he took over, he renamed Daily Bugle to simply the DB. It lasted for a couple years until the main building was destroyed by Electro. Yes, at this period of time, Jameson was no longer the owner. He has sold the place to Daniel Bennett, who apparently, after the building was destroyed, he stopped appearing in comics, and then he sold the plan. Then apparently he sold the place back to Jameson, which Jameson later gave the Daily Bugle to Frontline. Basically, became new Daily Bugle anyways, which Frontline is now currently Daily Bugle right now. Yeah, so we got some good stuff out of this and some bad stuff, but in the case of what was going on in this book, Sally Field was eventually released. Though I think they're arresting her just because she dared interview people who were fighting against the government. I think that was stupid. She was doing her job. Yeah, she may not want to give her sources. She has a right to basically withhold her source. And I'm like, it's like the way Paul Jenkins writes this, the way the people around Sally Floyd, is that these people do not care about the law at all. They apparently don't treat Roy Brown as an American citizen. He has a right to a lawyer. He has a right to a speedy trial. He was never given that. He basically was shoved into the negative zone. Also, just before I came penance, he's like, "Hey, can someone contact Reed Richards? I'd like to sign up." Yeah, because he joined the initiative. Yeah. By the way, a little fun fact: was Iron Fist ever contacted and registered with the U.S. government because of the Supreme Administration Act? He was. Except that his lawyer argued that he was already registered with the government as a lethal weapon. So, technically, the SHIELD could do nothing about Iron Fist because he was already registered. Not under the Supreme Administration Act per se, but with the U.S. government as a lethal weapon, which good on him for doing that. By the way, in case you're curious, Independence Relentless miniseries did Did Robbie ever get a chance to run into Nitro again and try to get revenge? What happened at Stanford? I'll talk more when I get a chance to talk Panzer Villains because it's a really critical miniseries when it comes to Robbie Brown. But while I would talk about the other books related to Frontline, oh heck yes, definitely. Like Secret Invasion Frontline, I think it's also a War Hulk Frontline too. Yes. Starting with Civil War, they did this thing for several years where basically they have these anthology books where it focuses on people who are not the superheroes per se, but feature the basic newspapers. This is the first one. Then to continue with World War Hulk and Siege, and of course Secret Invasion as well. Definitely something looking forward to discussing in the future. And well, by the way, what do I give Civil War Frontline? I give it a 9 out of 10 ish. Yes. I would say the Embody is really good. I didn't really care for the story involving Sally Floyd and Captain America. It's a very controversial scene. It's a scene that I'm sure that Paul Jenkins probably would never mention to anybody ever again. I don't know if anybody has ever mentioned to him as it relates to that particular interview. I'm sure he himself would rather just pretend it didn't happen. Yes, that's probably what he wants to do there. Okay, so I think by issue number 7 they stopped having the issues basically fill the gap between stories. 7, let's see. They do kill off a character named Joe Atlantis in issue 7. He was just a character. Yeah. It's, okay, Sleeper Cell is a Wonder Man story which started in the previous issues. Yeah, it didn't last as long. It's not a really big known story. Yeah. And the fourth story involved Wonder Man versus Norman Osborn. Oh, and also the guy who actually shot Robert Brown in the previous issue. Well, he was allowed to be released in exchange for Robbie for signing up with the government. Yes. Yeah. There's also a story in here, The Accused. This is with Robbie here. Yeah, and She-Hulk is in the story too. There's also an organization known as She, Superheroes of Europe. Yeah, they appeared in this book for reasons. This was the first appearance since the final issue of the second volume for Century. Now you're probably thinking, what was the issue that had the controversial interview with Captain America? I think it may have been issue 9. Yes. Also the character Taffface. Yeah, he can kill him off this issue. Yeah, he's Paul Jenkins' character, so you ever have to kill him off. I have no problem. By the way, issue 10 is when Robert becomes Pence the first time. Yeah. So Civil War 10, Ben Urich resigns from the Daily Bugle. A guy by the name of Leo Zazowski does not name this book, but he's the one who designed his suit. Yeah, he's a character who, not a creation of Paul Jenkins, he's a JMS character who appeared in this book after last appearing back in Amazing Spider-Man 528, which came out back in 06, like January 06, and this issue was released in January 07, and this would be his last appearance in comics. He never appeared ever again. Issue 11, first appearance of the newspaper Frontline. This is the start of that. 11 confirmed Taffface's death. Yeah. Also, with issue 11, they stopped having the other stories. Embody pretty much was in the whole book the whole time. I thought it was 12, 13 issues. No, it was 11. I kept hearing it was like 11 ish. I kept hearing it was 13 issues. No, it was actually 11. Yeah, but that's kind of what the book is comes to. But we'll be discussing the next Frontline book. Yes, indeed, yes. If I can find it, of course. Yeah, so that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. And I'll see you all later for my reviews for Dr. Stone and the Appraiser anime. Okay, let's do it. Bye.